Good afternoon, dear colleagues. It's my pleasure to introduce Professor Dr. Rubens Menezes to you. Rubens is a historian by profession, interestingly, but a very specific historian because he was always interested in in legal issues, in particular issues of intellectual property, open access, open data, and similar issues. And that's also the reason why we met. We met in Hanover many years ago, I'm afraid, and I'm not even sure yet when exactly, Rubens, but it's quite some time ago that we met in Hanover, dealing together on issues of IP and IT law. He is by profession a member of an educational institution in Brazil, in particular I'm sorry for my Portuguese in this case, the Centro Estadual de Educação Tecnológica Paulo Sousa, or CETEPS, which is a public institution that belongs to the state government of Sao Paulo and is connected to the Secretariat of Economical Development. It's an institution that is spread through the state. The institution manages, and now please hold your breath, 223 technical schools and 73 state colleges of technology with more than, and now hold your breath again, 290,000 students in vocational courses integrated with secondary education and technological higher education. So it's really a huge institution that you belong to, Rubens, and I'm really glad that you found the time to come back to me, to all the times that we had together in this very, very tiny little department in Hanover. And I would like to start with a very basic and probably stupid question, but still for many Europeans important question, obviously, because the information on Brazil is not that broad, I would say. So how exactly is the situation in Brazil at the moment, so in August 2020, when it comes to COVID-19? And then in the second stage, how is the situation at your institution?
It's good to be here with you, Nicholas, again. And I would bet it's over 10 years we were in Hanover. But let's not talk about it. The situation here in Brazil is probably as dire as the news you are getting there. This Saturday, we reached the landmark of over 100,000 deaths due to COVID-19. And I don't know, we are borderline of 3 million contaminated people. And if you look through my window, you would not say that, because almost everything is working business as usual, you know. And there's an interesting. I am as shocked as anyone who's listening to me saying these things. So I've been deeply thinking about why are we in this situation. Because actually, Brazil was the country that pushed the World Health Organization to declare that COVID-19 was a pandemic. So it's not that we didn't knew about it and we're not seeing it. So we saw that. We saw it coming. And in my point of view, the state of the situation now is a very cold-blooded, rational economic decision. There was a political decision made to go on in life, you know, and let's see what happens. So some preparations were made. We got campaign hospitals. We organized some kind of social distancing, but not a lot of social distancing. And it was in the beginning looking like it was going to be okay, but it started to be relaxed and relaxed and relaxed to the point now that we are actually discussing the coming back of the classes, children to be back in the school, and that's beyond me, beyond my understanding. But it's not beyond my understanding because it's exposing a very deep fracture of a very powerful social divide we have here, a very people is really poor when they are poor. So that's what's happening now. You know, people have to get back to work. They need to work, and they are going to work.
So, and when they are going to work, this means they are going to work without any, I mean, are there any, the typical European rules, which is wear face masks, there should be a minimum distance between you and the person you talk to?
No, we got all the rules. We are practically Europeans, you know. We got the same rules. We got everything, 2-meter rule, and it's legislation to wear masks and everything else. But if you walk on the streets, you see people with masks on their chins, or with the mask and their nose out, because it's not a cultural thing here, and it's kind of hard to explain to people what's happening. And we were caught in a kind of cultural war, like the one in the United States about this whole masks and how it became kind of an ideological thing for some people, and it's distressing. But there was, I will not remember who said that now, but there is Brazil. There was a foreigner that once said it was kind of a Belindia was the name of the country, because it's a kind of a mixture of Belgium and India. It depends where you are walking. So that's the main problem here, because the deaths, they are concentrated in the low-income areas. And there are places that you simply can't enforce social isolation. No, not the adequate sanitary conditions in housing. A lot of people in the same room living together, whole families in single room accommodations. So it's a difficult situation, and there was this, in my opinion, cynical decision by politicians. It's not even fair to say all the politicians. If you take the governor of Sao Paulo, for example, in the beginning he was looking like, oh, look, we are going to be with all the correct rules in place. But the economic pressure was too big, even on him. The main reason we are discussing the opening of the schools now is the pressure of the private schools, because they are losing a lot of money, because they are losing students, because they're not having classes. And the pressure they're exerting on government is really big to get back. And that will be a carnage, in my opinion. You know, if the way things are now, we reach the 100,000 deaths. If you get back to schools working, we got a statistic here that 70% of elderly people do live in houses that there are children living with them. So it's the recipe for an even bigger problem, and that will connect us soon with the law aspects of it all, because there are, I believe, 2 or 3 challenges already of our president in the international courts being accused of genocide by negligence. And I think there is a case in there.
Yeah, and
I'm sorry to be bleak.
yeah, I mean, on the one hand, you say that, I mean, people don't have an alternative than starting some kind of day-to-day life again, and on the other hand, you say that there is some kind of genocide by negligence happening. But I don't think that both things at the same time can be true, right? So either there's no other option, or it's a crime not to do anything.
I will put it in more details. There is, in one side, a very big pressure from economic agents. Since from the beginning, we got the most staggering declarations from important businessmen in Brazil saying that, yeah, people will die. It's life. You know, and people will die, but we can't stop the economy. What you have is a very negligent central government that is just denying from the beginning that even the pandemic is a problem. We got declarations like it's just a small flu, and all the coordinated actions that should be taken by the central government to create some kind of safety network or to protect or to establish even ground rules. It was not done by the central government. It was done by the state governments, and with their capacities, they are really varying capacities. The state I am now, Sao Paulo, it's really able to establish its own rules and even buy equipment and everything. But other states are not that well equipped. And there is also this denial posture of this denial position that it's not, first, it's not even happening. And two, there is this hydroxychloroquine thing that is being sold as a miracle cure. It's kind of snake oil that will have. It's stressful to say the least, but there is a lot of responsibility in the central government for not even taking care of the basic actions.
And is Sao Paulo doing better than other states?
That's debatable. Sao Paulo is the biggest state in the federation, even population-wise and money-wise. But it's also the state with more deaths than every other state. I believe it is. We got a real serious situation in the Amazon, in Manaus. And we have scientists discussing with papers published in respected journals that we might have reached herd immunity in the Amazon region. Because the numbers are stable and they're going down and nothing happened, and just there was a really huge peak of deaths. They wasn't even prepared to deal with the bodies. They were literally having mass graves, and all of a sudden it kind of normalized itself and it entered. So there's even a discussion now if we could have reached herd immunity there, and we might be reaching herd immunity in other places.
Sorry.
No, I was just going to say that the whole administration of the crisis is, in my view, it will be discussed in history, but it was a criminal negligence for sure. They left people to their lucky.
And are there any tests ongoing? So how do you know?
We have a very good test system in Sao Paulo now. Not for everywhere. You can drive your car and have a test through the window of your car. You just pay for it, and there are tests around. In the beginning, there was no tests. There are a lot of states that even now they don't have tests. I believe we are on the limit capacity of testing people here.
And that makes it very difficult to say whether the numbers are stable or not, right? So
I'm telling you only the official numbers, but the thing got so bad that at some point the government took a decision 2 months ago, I believe, 3 months maybe. They took a decision. The numbers were every day were getting worse and worse and worse. And when we reached 1,000 deaths a day, they decided they would not put the numbers out anymore because it was not helping anything. And then the media consortium of many different papers and websites and TVs and radios, they made a consortium. So they monitored the individual numbers of states and cities, and they made a compilation and published a daily figure. But we are in the thousands daily deaths.
Which is terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible, but it's kind of invisible because people, they will die away. They will not die with their families. They will die. You'll not see. We have 200 and so million people in Brazil. So it's a huge number that nobody sees.
And the hospital, how's the situation in the hospitals then? I mean,
some places they are on top of their capacity, and if I'm paying more attention to Sao Paulo for obvious reasons, and to Rio, the situation in Rio tends to always be bleak also. But in Sao Paulo, we are oscillating between 70% and sometimes 90%. It depends when you look and at what hospitals, at what place of the state you are looking at. But we are not over capacity, but we are always working on the limit of the capacity.
And this is because the poor who are infected don't make it to the hospitals, or how can that be then?
I think they make to the hospitals. We got a really big installed capacity. We have campaign hospitals like the military one with barracks that were implemented inside of stadiums or around big places. And I got, as I told you before, I have family that work in this, they're doctor. And the stories they tell me and the descriptions of how things are happening, we are working on the verge of our capacity. But we have public health here in Brazil. So in thesis, everybody can be assisted. And a lot of people, they fell ill and they will recover. But even though the numbers are really big, we are second only to the United States and
I know.
the world, I think.
Yeah. Terrible. And when it comes to your university now, Rubens, how is the situation there? So students were off campus and they are expected now to return, or?
They are. I remember they're off campus, and we have no date to return yet. I remember that we have a meeting yesterday through electronic means of the faculty, and my dean remembered that I was 3 days before we started to tell everybody to stay home. I was in his office, and I said to him, the end of the world is coming. I really like everybody here and everything that's happening, but I'm going to stay home from Monday, And I told him that in a Tuesday, and on Friday, there was the news that everybody was supposed to stay home. So you just mentioned the numbers of my institution, Centro Paulo Souza. It's a really big institution, really dispersed through all the state, and we got all levels of education, and we migrated to a online platform, and we started to give online classes in the snap of a finger. We got some pre-arrangements with companies, and the stuff were in place, and we just migrated everything in a month. We anticipated the break, the vacations of everybody. We anticipated for a month and put everything together. And in the space of a month, we are having online classes, and we finished the semester. We started the semester presential with everybody in class, but we finished it on 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago. We finished it all online, and it went incredibly well and smooth. And it was a transition that everybody's kind of surprised at how well it went. And everybody's discussing now that when the pandemic ends, a lot of this stuff we've done and we learned that we could keep for the future.
Yeah. What, for example, what are the positive things that you would like to keep?
Oh, the whole, given the online classes and the engagement of the students, we were really embraced by the students. They really understood the situation, and everybody put their best to complete the tasks. There are some specific fields that you really need to be in a lab and have machines operating, chemicals and mechanical stuff. But even for these situations, we managed to make social distancing and put just few students at a time in place. So there was a lot of learning of how to make things more efficient to work in a digital age.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we got all kind of teachers, professors. We got professors that were fully digital, like myself, and the ones that were fully on paper. And everybody became digital in a month.
Which is a very idealistic way of seeing things, right? So that everyone became digital within a month in such a big institution. So
we have to try to see the light.
Yeah, let me ask Rubens, how many students do you have in a typical class? You as a teacher?
I will range from 20 to 30.
So that's a small class, right? Also,
a small class, and
but you never have 200 or 2,000 or so. You personally,
no,
I mean,
no. We don't have that in my institution. The tops would be 40.
Okay, so it's always very small classes. Okay.
Yeah, 40, 45 if everything went wrong in the semester before, but it's rare. I never seen.
Okay. And this is, I mean, this is unthinkable for a typical European university, as you know, where this, at least in the first year, classes have sizes of several hundreds, and in some cases even thousands of students, which makes it obviously more complex to address them by electronic means.
Yeah, you can have they can have individual feedbacks, and it will be I can see it will be problematic.
Mm-hmm.
Here, even if we have in my institution, if we have we start to go way higher than 40 students in a class, the central administration will break this class in 2 different classes and assign another teacher for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you use, for the interaction with your students, you said before we started this on YouTube, you told me that you are using Moodle. So just like many of us do, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it. The institution adopted the Microsoft Teams as a platform, but it does not prevent us to use other things. And the problem we really got here is that not all students got the machines and the connections.
Yeah, that's what I would like to ask as next question.
They don't have that. So we got situations with students without conditions to have powerful machines. So in this situation, we are free to opt to whatever means we want to go on with the classes. So I personally use Moodle. A lot of my colleagues use Moodle. We have a Moodle that I'm the administrator for a long time, and but it's way lighter to work in tablets or even in cell phones. And to students that does not have fast enough or have any connections to the internet, the institution provided them with the SIM cards, data SIM cards, so they could connect to the classes.
If they had a smartphone.
That's but our numbers. That's an important thing to say. It's a very diverse audience. It will vary from cities and from neighborhoods within the cities. And our numbers show that the majority of the time it worked.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I personally I can criticize the process for a long time, but in general it worked a lot. We have institutions here, universities, that they are still without classes,
Mm-hmm.
and they are now trying to figure out how will they get back.
Mm-hmm.
And in this vision, I would say that it was fortunate to be in the position we were.
And the professors, do they use their personal equipment, or are all of them using university equipment?
Everybody uses their personal equipment, but we used to do that before. When we are going to give classes inside, we can have the computer of the university and ask for it, and they will install on the class for us. But nobody really goes to the trouble. You know, it's better to have your own machine. So everybody gets have their own machine. So in my institution is focused on my unity is focused on the computer science. So it's kind of everybody have the computer. I don't know, and I don't know.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, but if somebody is, I don't know, a professor of Latin, or I don't know, or German, not necessarily.
No, our language professors, they are all connected, way more than others, because they have these groups and meetings and everything. They are for a long time online. I would imagine that agronomy, sciences, and
law.
Oh, maybe law. Okay.
Yeah. But still, you would say that overall it worked, right? So overall it worked.
It worked. It worked. If you asked me in March what would happen, I would just tell you, okay, it's all going to be a maximum scale failure, and it was not. It really worked. It's kind of impressive.
And are you planning to for the next term now to return to campus, or will it be just like the last term?
We don't know. Our classes will start on Monday. Restart on Monday.
On Monday, and Monday. You don't know today, so
no. We will restart online.
Oh,
we don't
that's
know
already clear. Okay,
it's already clear. We don't know until what point we'll be back. What institution is saying, and what we can say is that probably we'll have some classes that will be back presential, because we really need some labs. But in this case, we'll have probably a third of the students very spaced away inside of the lab in different times. And that will be how it will be done. And the majority of the classes will probably be still online. Even when we get back, I am imagining, and I talked with other people, it will be back 30 to 35% of the classes will be presential, and the others will still be remote, because it's too big of a risk, you know.
Yeah, and your classes will be online from Monday onwards. So you personally will.
Yeah, I have history classes, and I have computer science classes, and everything that I teach can work from the computer. Okay. It's kind of lonely, but
yeah. Do you have any details about what's going to happen in law? So when it comes to the legal education,
I think they will follow suit. Everything will be online too for some time. But I even I took the liberty of collect some facts here, because that's something that I've been paying attention for a long time, as you said. So a lot of the law activity in Brazil, it already happens online. All the judicial process and everything, it's everything virtual and online, and all the lawyers got their cryptographic pins to see the ongoing process and everything. We started, we have the first online process here in Brazil in 2009. In 2010, we got a law that started to create rules for the use of video conferencing, interrogations, and this kind of procedures, because the law in 2010, it was necessary because a lot of this of process was already happening online, and they just have to put some ground rules to it. So I believe all law activities will be remote and online too. I know that here in Sao Paulo, the law firms, they can, the government authorizes them to work, to have office time if social distancing respected, and if they are not receiving clients in office. So that.
I mean, one of the questions that are in my view very obvious is the following. I mean, if we started this conversation with the description of a very chaotic situation, I would say, and one of the expectations one would have would be that the legal system as a whole reacts on this chaos in a way, right? So that there are more stricter laws, and I know the fines go up, and you know that civil procedures are more eminent than before, and so on. But when I understand you between the lines, that is not really happening, is it?
No, it's not really happening. I believe all the new events about legislation we have, it's all about the wearing of masks and fines. I'm really I get really surprised by everything, but they're discussing to open the beaches in Rio this weekend, and there is a law, and there is an app, and you will be able to book your space, your square on the beach through the app,
and that's a COVID app. Is this a specific COVID-19 app, or
a specific COVID-19 app that will be rolled out for test, and you can book your your
space, your personal space at the beach.
Have you ever seen a picture of a sunny day of the beaches in Rio?
Yeah, of course, I know.
I am kind of, I'm really okay. Let's do it. Let me see what will happen. You know, because it's amazing that they're even considering that. But for all that matters, shopping malls are already open. Closed environments with, they're saying, we have hand sanitizers and we have social distancing. You will not catch me inside a shopping mall before there is a proven vaccine.
Yeah, but you are, I mean, is this something where people don't know about the facts, or do they ignore them, or what is the thinking behind this?
I was discussing that with friends, and a friend of mine told me something that I was really angry and about everything, and she just said to me, Rubens, the vaccine is social. People will be fed up. They will just stop worrying a lot, and they will just go on with life. It's being normalized. It's being socially normalized. There will be people like me, of course, that they are since March locked in their houses, but I'm really privileged in the whole situation. I can do that. I can be here in my home and be teaching my classes from here, and I can ask for delivery of food and stuff. I only go out if I really have to go out. That's why I look like a castaway. But it's not something that is available to everybody in Brazil. There's a big part of the population that it's just have no options, and that's That's connects with something that we...
Yeah, but I mean, you don't need to go to the beach, right? So, I mean, this is still something where people take the risk in a way for having a relaxed Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, and that's beyond me. And it's beyond a lot of Brazilians. But there are others that will just... And there is something that I was reading about the youth in Europe also, that they just don't see the COVID-19 as a threat to themselves. And there is that little moment of selfishness that will just, okay, nothing will happen to me. And they don't really start to think about the whole spreading connections they will be establishing.
So what about your students? Did you receive such reactions from your students when everything went to remote teaching?
I got students. Majority of my students kind of enjoyed it. They liked the model. There was this side effect that usually more shy students that will not interact with you in classroom in presence, they start to interact a lot. That was something that we noticed that was an interesting surprise. And a lot of my students, they have to work. Our classes here, there's something that sometimes the people in Europe does not catch in the first moment. But I teach classes during the night, because during the day my students are probably working. Of course, in such a big institution like mine, we have classes in the 3 periods, but the majority of them will happen at night. So when they are having an online class, they don't have to have to go to the uni. That's a plus for a lot of them. And I got a lot of students, they kept working during the pandemic. I got one student in particular that he was an IT guy inside of a hospital. And he every night he would be describing me how it was stuff to me and to his colleagues, how things were happening in the hospital. And the day he went to he had for some reason to go to the ICU, and I was like, oh, are you crazy? You entered there? Oh no, it's okay. I have a mask and I have gloves and it didn't touch anything. So people start to normalize it. Scarily enough.
Yeah, but still, I mean, there's one interesting point here, which is that your students see, or some of them at least, see the advantages of staying at home instead of normalizing the disease, which brings me to the question which is asked by one of our listeners here. He or she asks whether you believe that online classes would remain popular even with the end of the pandemic situation.
I'm sure of that. I'm sure of that. They will. That's a game changer. That's a shift that we were seeing. That I believe I told you before. We are kind of. I was personally anticipating that for 5 to 10 years from now. And what we have, what
you
we
mean
got
this
was,
teaching situation or the pandemic?
This teaching situation. This teaching situation. No, not the pandemic.
Well, there were people who knew that something like this could come, right? So it was, I mean, not many of them, but some of them were there.
Yeah, they are
but
they were treated like the crazy person in the village. That's sad. No, I was already talking with many of my colleagues, and I was saying, this thing that we do here, it's coming to an end. It's changing. Everything is changing. This kind of situation, or our situation, will be preserved because we are a public school. We belong to the government. We have a lot of social impact on what we do. But in the private sector, the classes will be online soon. I was projecting 5 years, 10 in the worst case scenario. And here we are. Fast forward.
Yeah, but I think, I mean, I don't know how your perception of this is. I would like to share mind with you on this. So first, I think I was of the very same opinion 10 years ago or 20 years ago or even 30 years ago. So things develop much slower than I would have expected. And what I see at the moment is that many of my colleagues don't see the change now either, right? So they see this as some kind of, strange period that has a lot of unpleasant side effects also when it comes to teaching, but it will end. And then the old normal will return. And would you, I mean, is this different in your institution? So do people, or is it still the case that you are one of the few people believing that things will change or stay like they are at the moment?
Yeah, the change is that I'm not more in the field. A lot of colleagues have joined me in this kind of thought. But I do see this colleagues that are, okay, this is just for this semester, maybe the other, and 2021 we'll be back to normal. And every time I hear that, I kind of, I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but this is the normal now. But it's not just because of the pandemic. It's because of the way things are. Connections are pervasive and computers are pervasive. You have everywhere you are, you have a good connection. I was in my heart, this would happen after the rollout of 5G. So I was thinking, okay, we have to be prepared because when the 5G network is fully implemented, it will be inevitable. And that was a very, very positive reading that I was doing of the situation because it's already implemented. We are doing it now. And everybody that deals with the administration of the educational process, they are taking notice that this thing is happening and this thing is working.
But let's come back again to one of, I mean, probably this is a stupid question, but I would like to ask it however, because I don't understand it fully. I mean, I would assume, at least in my institution, one of the problems that we saw was that we lost some students, right? So that there was a given percentage, something between 5 and 15% of the students who disappeared, right? They were no longer visible to us. In many cases. And one of the reasons for this might have been that, the costs for IT, internet access, a place where you can sit and work and so on, were not affordable for all of them. And if this assumption is true for an average Austrian or German university, I would assume that it is also true for a Brazilian average institution, and perhaps the problem is even worse there. So what do you do with those people? I mean, do you declare them as lost, or do you subsidize their learning, or what? Or do you ask those to come back to campus, or how will you deal with this?
The number I heard yesterday for my own unity was 7.9%.
Yeah, that's quite an average European number. That
was
would
our
be.
loss. I don't believe that's the. I'm saying here. I'm talking about imagining, right? I don't believe it's the same number for all unities in my institution, because as I'm saying, my public, my students, they are all well on computers and well connected.
Yeah, because it's computer science. I mean, this is really.
Science, yeah. But it's not only computer science. It's computer science, it's administration, and it's tourism administration. So in tourism administration, we got our worst case scenario, I would say. It was harder for the students. But I would assume the number for the institution as a whole, statewide, wasn't that big, because we got a side effect that should be considered. people are losing their jobs. This is a public institution. Nobody will pay for anything here. So it's too much of a good opportunity to lose in the middle of a pandemic, let's say. So I believe our retention numbers, they would be directly connected to that. But that's, again, we don't have any researches now for that. And the only number I know is from my own unit, that's 70.9%. That was what I heard yesterday.
And will you take any action to address those people? So will you just go on?
At this moment, I don't know. Probably we'll go. We already, what I'm saying is not true. When we notice that the student is not participating, we got a process to contact the student and to understand what's happening. There are situations we can help, there are situations we can't help. Family problems of different sorts, changes in working regimes, we really can't deal with that. But for example, the connection, when every student we mapped that they were not going to the classes because they have a connection problem, they received a free data SIM card from the institution.
And who paid for this? The institution pays for the access?
Yes, the state.
The state pays for this. Wow.
The state pays for this. The institution pays for this. I would hate to be the person doing the report and trying to explain why they were giving away SIM cards to people. You know, I believe it would be a fun report to read. But it happened. It really happened. They said when we mapped that the students were not going to the classes because they don't have the connection, they received the SIM card. Now we can probably do that, but in the past, this same institution was subsidizing and or giving even laptops for students. I don't know, 5 years, 6 years ago, we are literally giving computers to all the students that wanted computers, notebooks.
And that's still happening. So if a student can't afford a laptop,
no, it's not happening at this point, and it will probably not happen because we would not be able to meet the costs like at this moment. I don't know if it will happen in the future, but the currency rate, it's too unfavorable in front of the dollar to do that.
So students need to have some kind of device then. If they don't have a device, they can't follow classes.
They can follow classes, but it will work with a cell phone. It will work with a computer. It will work with a tablet. And we got situations. We got the student only have the cell phone, and teacher, how will I deliver the assignment you sent? Because I was supposed to do on the computer, and okay, you do it on your notebook, you take a picture of it and you upload the pictures, and it worked.
How are you doing the exams?
Oh, majority of my classes I work with an approach of problem learning based, and we kind of develop a project through the whole semester. So in the beginning of the semester, we present some concepts and some ideas, and they start even to construct a software product or to write an essay about a certain subject. And we have milestones that's supposed to be mapped, and I will evaluate them on these milestones and from the overall achievement during the semester. But that's my way of doing. I like it because I believe it's more interesting to have the students constructing their own learning. It's interesting. But I have colleagues that will just give normal evaluations through even the Zoom meeting or the Moodle platform, and things are working.
Yeah. And I mean, when it comes to written exams, do people care about identification and authentication and all these boring computer science stuff?
I don't think we have these problems. You know, you really can say if it's your student or if it's not your student that is doing something. If you're really following them through the classes, you know, it's is it possible to have frauds? Maybe it is, but usually the teacher is really aware of where their students are and what they're doing. As I told you, they are small classes. If we were dealing with 200, 108 people in a classroom, I don't imagine how we would do that.
Yeah. That's of course obviously an important difference. Obviously, absolutely. Yeah. Rubens, if I may, I would ask, so to come slowly to an end with this, one very difficult question, perhaps. But if you have anything else that you want to add, please go ahead before that. But the difficult question would be, if you were in my shoes, being a professor of law, what would be the field you would invest when it comes to research into? So what would you, or let's put the question like this, what would you expect professors of law to do research on at the moment in this situation? And the second part of the question would be, what will be your personal next big research project because of this situation all of us are in?
I've been thinking a lot about the boundaries of democracy and the way digital divide and social divide are bringing all over the world democracies to their knees, and the rise of populist discourses. I'm a historian, so that's I see a very bleak pattern developing, and if I was going to be a law student, I would be probably looking to the interactions of the fundamentals and economy and technology, and how these three things will impact democracies all over the world. I believe that's the thing of the future, and that's what's in the back of my mind kind of permanently now. That's
well, and one example of this could be the use of apps, which brings me to another question that I should have asked, which is about the app situation. Are you using apps apart from this funny beach area COVID-19 app? Is there one that tries to fight the disease?
It's still connecting with the democracy thing and the whole. We got as in everywhere, we got a surge of the delivery apps like Uber Eats, and we have native versions here in Brazil. And the level of exploitation that these apps submit people with no choice, it's kind of an interesting way. Maybe the way apps circumvent the law is a good theme for research.
Yeah, that would be a good topic indeed. Yeah, and specifically now about COVID-19, do you have a specific app trying to trace contacts, for example?
No, we don't have that here. I know how hard it is to grasp your mind around that, but it's kind of normalized, you know.
Yeah.
The vaccine is social. People will just. I believe, and I'm a historian. I should not be ever talking about the future, but we got specific classes teaching us not to do that. But I believe if the numbers got too high or higher than what they are now, you can have social unrest. That higher numbers combined with the eroding economies, they will probably lead us to some kind of social unrest. But that's projection, and it's not something that is scientific.
And when it comes to your research, is there anything that you would like to share with us, what you will be working on then in the next weeks, month, years?
Years, I'll probably be working with this whole limits of democracy and the actual economic model.
It's your project and my project in your view, right? So
it's good.
Yeah. Okay.
We can work together.
Yeah, indeed, we can. Yeah.
More immediately, I am writing some light-hearted research on how social changes in work and sexuality and family relations are being represented in cartoons and comic books. That's but that's a side. It's kind of a side gig. I just do that because it's fun. My main thing is to reflect on the limits of democracy and what are we entering.
Thank you, Rubens.
My pleasure, Nicholas.
I'm overwhelmed by all this, honestly, because I think it's very hard to comment on such a situation from an outside perspective, as you might imagine, obviously, right? So it's very it's very threatening what you are telling us here, and frightening. Yes. I really do hope that that the situation will, at least that will, I don't know how and I don't know when, but that at least sometime the situation will become better.
That's my hope too. I really appreciate talking to you again. It's a long time. I thank you for the invitation. And anytime you wanna chat, just call me and we can. I'm sorry not to give more enlightened perspectives, but
hopefully next time when we talk, be it on this channel, be it directly, personally, hopefully there will be more light and less darkness in the conversation.
The whole COVID subject is kind of a dark and heavy, but
but let's take the positive part of it, which is that you were rather optimistic about the digitalization aspects of the development, right?
Okay, let me just do a small correction here. I don't want to sound optimistic. What I'm saying is that it's inevitable. I'm not making a value of if it's good or if it's bad. What I'm saying is it's inevitable. It will happen. And it will happen. It was something that I was aware that was going to happen, but now it's something that has already happened. So we are there. Yeah.
And you don't want to judge whether this is a positive or negative development, right? That's.
I have mixed feelings. It's practical in a sense. In other, I'm giving classes to that small light on my camera without seeing my students, and I really think the feedback is important. And to have the classes, all classes should be in person. I don't know, maybe not all the classes, but you need some kind of contact. And to lose the human touch it's complicated, and it has side effects for everything.
Yeah. Do you know, by the way, Rubens, that I remember you being the very first person in my life whom I met who covered his cam on the laptop?
I remember. I remember.
So,
I remember
that was
I remember
10
your
years ago.
face. Yes, I remember your face when you looked at it. And I was like, why do you cover your camera? And then I explained it to you, and you were like, really?
And that was 5 years before Snowden and all this, or 10 years before that. So it was really so.
I'm the deep geek.
Yeah, or yeah, yeah. That's that's a good description. Yeah, let's keep it like this. Rubens, is there? I mean, that is, in my view, a very nice ending, right? To say hi in the deep geek, and I mean, just one comment about the speaking into the camera. I mean that in the prior part of this conversation, you, in my view, rightly said that your students are communicating with you via different means, and that it's not only about you speaking into this camera, right? There are,
Yes.
in particular, students who are
Shy.
introverts or shy,
Yeah.
and I don't know, communicate differently and so on. There is an ocean of opportunities for them coming with this, which is very different from the little red dot on your laptop, right?
Yeah. I would be happy in a mixed world.
Yeah, yeah. So let's hope that this mixed world is coming. Rubens, thank you for this very, very interesting and at the same time frightening, but at the same time also eyes-opening conversation that I really very much appreciated. I hope that we keep in touch for the next 10 or 15 years, and then have another occasion. I mean, I hope that we talk more frequently, but then let's have a conversation about this conversation and how it then appears. I really appreciate this. I hope that you stay safe as much as you can, and healthy, and that we will have a lot of more opportunities to talk to each other. Thank you very much also to our audience for following us. I hope also that you stay healthy and that you keep in touch with us. All the best to all of you. Thank you.